O you who love mercy for the whole of mankind and detest terrorizing the creation. Allah Jalla wa Ala, He said in the Quran, يريدون ليطفئوا نور الله بأفواههم والله يتم نورهم والله متم نوره ولو كره الكافرون. Which means that they desire and seek to turn out or extinguish the light of Allah, His Quran, His Sunnah, the message of Al-Islam, بأفواههم, with their tongues, with their mouth. وَاللَّهُ مُتِمُّ نُورِهِ, but Allah will maintain His light. وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْكَافِرُونَ, even if the disbelievers detest it. Allah Jalla wa Ala, He also said in the Quran, يُخْرِجُونَ الرَّسُولَ وَإِيَّاكُمْ, that they, those who have evil in their hearts, who desire harm, who desire evil for the creation, that they will drive, or they did drive out the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions. Likewise, they will drive us out of our homes also. Over many centuries, the Christians have invaded Muslim lands, especially the Holy Land of Palestine. There has been a number of different crusades against Islam over the many centuries that have passed. The whole objective was to take over, or try to take back, the land, the Holy Land of Jerusalem, in which is the Dome of the Rock, the Bayt al-Maqdis. The Crusades, which the non-Muslim Christian sect had sent, waged a bloodbath against the Muslims. They killed masses and masses of innocent people, men, women and children. The Crusaders of those times, they did not care who they killed. They were bloodthirsty killing machines with absolutely no ethics of war whatsoever. I will give you a small glimpse of the very first crusade that took place. And know, my dearest little brothers in Islam, that there were many crusades. History has recorded up to 9, maybe more. But I will mention from the first attempt to attack the Muslim lands took place in 1096. This crusade was formed mostly of thieves and criminals and murderers. It was the decision of the Council of Clermont in 1095, in which the Pope Urban II, he proclaimed that anyone who joined this crusade would be forgiven for all of his sins and will be relieved of any criminal penitence he might owe to the state at the time. So the Pope had declared on behalf of God that whoever took part in that crusade of 1096, whether they're thieves, murderers, rapists, killers, burglars, that they will be forgiven just by their mere attendance against the Muslims in this crusade. So by default it attracted thieves, murderers and all of their kind. People who had no morals, such criminals that had no feelings, such people that had no boundaries, no restrictions. All of them have flocked under the banner of the cross. And this rabble of some 60,000 men and women pillaged their way across Europe. Led by the famous Godfrey, they eventually reached Jerusalem. And in July 1099, after a 5-week siege, the knights of the First Crusade and their army of henchmen and women captured Jerusalem, massacring most of the inhabitants of the city, Muslims and Jews. So as we see, in this history, led by the knights, led by the politicians of their time, and underneath them, a gang of murderers, a gang of people who had no ethics of war, no morals, but went there for salvation and booty. Today, we witness a very similar situation in Iraq. An illegal war where the countries of the world invaded Iraq, killed women, children with their carpet bombing, no discrimination between innocent and those who are guilty. And the gang of rapists and murderers and killers underneath their wings, who travelled with them to Iraq, performed the atrocities of Abu Ghraib, where your mothers, your sisters were raped, where your brothers and fathers were raped, and you know the rest of what had happened. In that crusade of 1099, Muslims and Jews were burnt alive, sold into slavery. The bloody history of Christianity's crusade against Islam is in almost every history book that you open to read. The Christian account of what took place said the following: Muslims were being boiled alive and their children being cooked over fires and eaten. More than 70,000 Muslims were slaughtered. And during the next few decades, the Crusaders of that time, they extended their power to the rest of the country through some treaties, some agreements, but mostly bloody military violence. Today, we have witnessed in the UK the abhorrent image in which Islam has been portrayed by those who wish to begin a new and fresh crusade against the Muslims, namely the EDL and their likes. They have used every claim that they could find in the books of the Orientalists about Islam to justify their cause. They claim that Islam is a religion of violence and terror, a religion which oppresses women, a religion which seeks to kill and maim and wage jihad until the whole world is taken over by them by force. They portray Islam as a religion which wants to implement the Sharia in every place it goes, at any consequence, for any the question we have to ask ourselves is, why are they doing this? When the Sharia had provided for the Christians in Spain that which they did not have ever before in the lands that they lived in: peace, dignity, tranquility. In Turkey, the Christians living there. In Egypt, the Christians living there, living in peace amongst the Muslims, in dignity, having their full rights, but they do not wish to show this to the masses of the non-Muslims, because they have one aim, and that is to portray Islam in the most evil manner to justify perhaps a forthcoming crusade. It is a shame. For indeed Allah Jalla wa Ala, He says in the Quran, وَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنِ افْتَرَى عَلَى اللَّهِ الْكَذِبَ وَهُوَ يُدْعَى إِلَى الْإِسْلَامِ وَاللَّهُ لَا يَهْدِي الْقَوْمَ الظَّالِمِينَ. And how much more evil or wrong can there be than the one who invents a lie against Allah, saying this religion is a religion of violence and killing, a religion of oppression, while he is being invited to Islam. Here we are, calling these non-Muslims to Islam, to submit to the one true God, to submit to the religion of peace and tranquility, the religion that is best suited for civilization. But when they see the people entering into Islam in droves, they hate this in their hearts, and so they invent against Allah and His religion lies, and they make ugly the most beautiful of pictures. So by this, the public are fed lies, distortions, and the sustained propaganda on an industrious level to exploit their fears and their hysteria. This, coupled with engineered incidents like 9/11, 7/7 and the like, creates further hysteria and fear of this religion, and hatred and distance. And then we have from amongst us those self-proclaimed experts on Islam who have taken a stand to speak without knowledge about Allah's religion, disputing with false arguments in order to refute the truth thereby. And from them are the muhajirun, the takfiriyun, and those who call to jihad. At the head of all of them, these are the tools which the non-Muslims are using to ruin the image of Islam, to make Islam as if it is backward and not suitable for this civilization, a bloodthirsty religion to justify their crusade against us. And along with them, we have the likes of the modernist Muslims who wish to toe the agenda of this government unknowingly, that it will be to their detriment at the end. Newspapers, documentaries, film screens, everybody's talking about Islam and portraying Islam to be evil and bloodthirsty. You only have to turn on the BBC and watch Spooks and you'll know what I'm talking about. Look at the headlines of the newspapers and you will see how they are striving so hard to portray Islam as a bloodthirsty religion, a religion which is alien to civilization. And through these lenses of hate-filled terrorism and barbarism, they portray Islam. There is a reason for this. But should they not reflect and think that Allah will not hold them to account for their mockery and jest of this religion? As Allah Jalla wa Ala said, إِنَّا أَعْتَدْنَا لِلظَّالِمِينَ نَارًا أَحَاطَ بِهِمْ سُرَادِقُهَا وإن يستغيثوا يغاثوا بماء كالمهل يشفي الوجوه بئس الشراب وساءت مرتفقا. Verily, we have prepared for the polytheists and the wrongdoers a fire whose walls will surround them. And if they ask for help, for relief or for water, there will be granted water of boiling oil that will scald their faces, terrible a drink and an evil dwelling place. Should they not take heed of the warning for lying against Allah? Today is the beginning of this national conference, and this speech was the beginning of this weekend of knowledge that will be disseminated to clarify, not just for the non-Muslims, but for all you Muslims as well, to feed you with the knowledge that you need, to equip you with the tools that you need to refute these arguments and claims and lies that have been spread about Islam. How can we sit here and allow them to teach the non-Muslims, general non-Muslims, that Islam is backward, that Islam is a religion of spreading blood Islam is a religion which oppresses women. Islam is a religion which allows marriage at 10 years old. Islam is a religion which wants to take over this country. Islam is a religion which wants to establish the Sharia of chopping of the penal laws, of chopping the hands and necks and so on and so forth, without replying to them with the correct reply. We will say, we will do what Allah Jalla wa Ala He said in the Quran, where He said about the believers, وَيَذَرُونَ بِالْحَسَنَةِ السَّيِّئَةِ, that they will indeed repel this evil with good. So we intend to repel this evil with good. And we want all of you to benefit by attending this conference and bringing non-Muslims or bringing Muslims who have doubts in their minds about these things to learn their religion. Stand up and be counted before we're stood up to be killed. Stand up and be counted as Muslims, as believers of this one religion, this truth, as callers to His way. Did not the prophets before us go through trials and tribulation and difficulties and hardships? Were they not threatened? Far much worse than you and me. Nuh alayhi salam built a ship on dry land. The people mocked him for this and laughed at him. We are following the Sunnah in a very strange situation in England. The non-Muslims will look at us and laugh. We're calling for Islam, this peaceful religion, to spread in all corners of the earth. And the people are cursing and lying and creating an evil image about this. But did Nuh alayhi salam get put off his message? Did he stop? Did he turn away? No. Look at Musa alayhi salam. When Allah told him to give the message to Fir'aun and his people, he faced difficulty and hardship. He went through fear. Yet Allah aided him and helped him because he turned to Him and asked for help. But today, we are content with our 9-to-5 daily life and the money we bring in on a weekly or monthly basis, and the houses we're building, and the bank balances we're increasing. We have no thought or no concern over the state of the Muslims now and the state of the Muslims in the future. Many of us in this room today will be staying in this country for many years to come. Our children will grow up here and be born in this country. What kind of a life do you think they're going to be living? When right now you have organizations that have taken it upon themselves to destroy the image of Islam and make Islam look so evil that any Muslim in the future that grows up to be apparently following the Sunnah will be mocked, laughed, despised, not given any work, his life will be made difficult for him. So you are the people whom Allah Jalla wa Ala has chosen to shape the future of the Muslims here in the West. What are you going to do? Are we just going to sit, attend the talks, and look after ourselves and be like sponges? Or are we going to be like a mirror? The knowledge we attract reflects away from us and benefits others. As Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he said, do not be like a sponge and soak up the knowledge and benefit only yourself, but rather be like a mirror who will take this knowledge in and reflect it such that others may benefit also. As for those who persist in evil, with corrupt intentions, with diseases in their hearts, who have hatred for the truth, who have no desire to know about Allah, their efforts in trying to destroy, in trying to ruin the image of Islam, ultimately will be in vain. As we know what Allah said, يريدون ليطفئوا نور الله بأفواههم والله متم نوره ولو كره الكافرون. That they seek to turn out the light of Allah with their mouth, but Allah will maintain His light even if the disbelievers dislike it. Those who are hostile towards Islam and paint its Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a criminal who distorts images of Islam and lie and they are all motivated by a very important fact. And all of us should understand this clearly. This is what they're motivated by. That the most intelligent of people in the world today, the most analytic, the most open-minded, the most cleverest of people in the world today are embracing Islam and entering the true religion. They have a problem with this. They see the Islamification of Europe by 2030. They see the Islamification of England by that time also. So they wish to preserve their corrupt culture and place barriers to the non-Muslims from entering into Islam. So they make up these bold lies. They make up these scaremongering tactics. Because why? Because they are unable to meet Islam and its callers intellectually with the truth. And I will leave you with this famous quote by J. Tolan, a historian, who writes, "Both as a rival religion and a rival civilization, Islam was tremendously successful. It was hence appealing, intriguing, and at the same time frightening. The attraction of Muslim learning, of Muslim culture, and the Muslim sophistication was extremely strong." Then he goes on to finish by saying, "But the more Christians were attracted to Islam, the stronger others felt the need to condemn it. For it was this attraction that was more of a threat to them than the might of the Muslim army." And this is what we face today, and this is why you will find Muslims all over the world today clarifying the truth, writing books, compiling articles in refutation against this intellectual war or this ideological war which exists. We ask Allah Jalla wa Ala to give us all the tawfiq to understand our responsibilities as Muslims living in the West here, and place in our hearts and our minds the ability to seek knowledge and implement it in ourselves and our families, and thereafter call to Allah Jalla wa Ala with good preaching, with good words, and not place obstacles and barriers within ourselves as Muslims and barriers from the outside